So, hi, good morning, everyone. And before I begin, I would like to thank Dr. Bernard, Dr. Stein, and Dr. Naka, who did everything to make this rotation exceptional for us. Thank you, all of you. And so I'm presenting on the topic of focal seizures today. And before we begin, I would like to ask you if you guys know the importance of purple ribbon. Does anyone know?
Is it for seizures?
Yes, that's right. It's for creating awareness for epilepsy. So, what are the objectives for today? To know different types of seizures, to learn to use new terminologies for focal seizures, to know a wide range of symptoms of focal seizures, to be able to recognize and diagnose it, and to learn new advances in its treatment. So, moving on, as we know, the human brain works by sending electrical signals throughout the brain, through neurons, which are called nerve cells. A seizure occurs when there is a surge in this electrical activity. And this causes a host of physical symptoms, such as muscle contraction, visual disturbances, and blackouts. Seizure can affect the entire brain, in which case it is known as the generalized seizures. A focal onset seizure, also known as a partial seizure, is when a seizure occurs in just one area. As we can see in this picture, there is a focal area affected, and it causes a focal seizure, causing a focal changes in EEG waves. In case of a generalized epilepsy or seizure, the whole brain is affected, causing a widespread change in the EEG wave. Epilepsy is a condition of recurrent unprovoked seizure. We all know that. So determining whether a first seizure or recurrent seizure are provoked or unprovoked is fundamental and essential for diagnosis and treatment. And now on to the pathophysiology. Everyone, including you and me, has some propensity to cause and have seizure. So for that, the concept of seizure threshold was defined. Any factor that causes the crossing of this threshold, for example, any medication, any genetic factors, electrolyte abnormalities, sleep deprivation, infections, brain inflammation, or injury from many causes, they can cause the seizures. On a cellular level, excitation of susceptible cerebral neurons is the cause. So as we know, everything in the brain is dependent on a fine balance. For example, if that balance is disturbed, a number of diseases can be caused. For example, epilepsy, Alzheimer's, Parkinsonism. In case of the epilepsy, we can see there is hyperexcitability. Normally, there is excitation caused by glutamate and aspartate, and inhibition caused by GABA, and they are almost equal. When there is hyperexcitability, which can be either due to excitation caused by glutamate and aspartate, or decreased inhibition caused by decreased GABA, the seizure results. So, etiology. There are many different situations and conditions that can cause seizure of any type. Sometimes the cause is never discovered, and in that case, it is known as idiopathic seizure. Mesial temporal lobe epilepsy is defined as the most common form of partial epilepsy. The etiology of MTLE is linked to hippocampal sclerosis. Some of the possible causes of focal seizures are epilepsy, liver or kidney failure, very high blood pressure, use of illegal drugs, brain infections such as meningitis, brain and head injuries, congenital brain defects, stroke, heat stroke, low blood sugar, and withdrawal from drugs or alcohol. So what are the various seizure types and recurrences? So it was seen that 60% of epileptic seizures are focal seizures, making them the most common type. And the 30% people with epilepsy experienced generalized seizures, and 20% of people with epilepsy experienced non-epileptic seizures. So what's the new classification? The International League Against Epilepsy introduced a new method to group seizures in March 2017. With ILAE updating their seizure classification, it's vital for healthcare professionals and people with epilepsy understand the new classification system and new terminologies used. Many words for seizures that we have got used to using, such as grand mal, petit mal, and partial seizures were used as general term to refer any big or small seizure. Seizures are now divided into groups depending on whether they start in brain, that is their onset, whether or not a person's awareness is affected, and whether or not seizures involve any other symptoms such as movement. Depending on where they start, seizures are described as being focal, generalized onset, or unknown onset. So this is the basic type of ILAE 2000 classification, which divides it into three components: the focal onset, generalized onset, and the unknown onset. The focal onset is further divided on whether the patient was aware or he had impaired awareness. And the other classification is like whether there was motor symptoms or there were non-motor symptoms. The generalized ones were divided into motor and non-motor. The motor were further divided into tonic-clonic and other motor seizures. And the non-motor ones, as we know, as like absence seizures. Unknown onset ones, they are also divided into motor and non-motor. And the other is unclassified types. 2017 classification divides the generalized onset seizures into motor and non-motor. As we know, the generalized onset seizures are those that start in or affect both sides of the brain at once and happen without warning. The motor seizures are those that have visible physical movement, and the non-motor, they are also known as the absence seizures, in which the patient suffers from staring spells, like for 10 to 30 seconds, with impaired consciousness. The unknown onset seizures are those in which the doctors are not sure where in the brain the seizure starts. It can be motor and non-motor as well. The unclassified ones are those if there is not enough information available about the person's seizures or because of the unusual nature of the seizure. Now on to the focal onset seizures. These are those that start in and affect one part of the brain. These can be aware or focal impaired awareness seizures. Focal aware seizures were previously known as simple seizures, and these last usually for a minute or less, and the patient remembers what happened. The simple partial seizures are simply known as aura. The impaired awareness seizures are previously known as complex partial seizures. They last for a minute or two, and patient feels sleepy or confused after the seizure. Patient won't remember what happened. In case of focal aware seizures, they are further divided into motor onset or non-motor onset. The motor onset ones are the seizures with physical movement. These movements can be automatisms, clonic type, atonic type, epileptic spasms, hyperkinetic ones, myoclonic, and tonic. Non-motor onset symptoms are those in which there is no physical movement. They can be autonomic, behavior arrest, cognitive, emotional, sensory. The focal impaired awareness seizure, or simply the complex partial seizures, are those in motor onset ones. There are automatisms, atonic, clonic, epileptic spasm, hyperkinetic, myoclonic, and tonic. And the non-motor ones are those in where there is no movement, like autonomic, behavioral arrest, cognitive, emotional, and sensory. The focal aware seizures, those are like can really generalized seizures. They are now known as focal to bilateral tonic-clonic seizures. So what are the various stages of the seizure? The first one is prodromal. This is not experienced by everyone. Person may experience agitation, mood swings, depression, insomnia, etc. The second one is oral stage. Aura is a focal seizure where people can feel and remember the experience. They are strange sensations, for example, any unpleasant smell, funny taste, butterflies or rising feeling in the stomach, intense panic or fear, smelling something, hallucinations, etc. The third stage is ictal stage, in which the patient has partial or full loss of consciousness. Lapses or distortions of memory can occur. Chewing or mouth movement, there can be loss of motor control, confusion, convulsions, and speech disturbances. The last stage is post-ictal stage. It usually lasts for 5 to 30 minutes, and the patient may have loss of consciousness or partial consciousness. There can be intense depression, emptiness, or suicidal ideation. Patient can experience feelings of humiliation or guilt or any memory disturbances. So the clinical symptoms are determined by anatomical areas affected, thus may facilitate the identification of specific areas of epileptogenesis utilizing the topographical representation of cortical homunculus. Partial epilepsies show common characteristics from the areas they arise from such areas. For example, if a seizure arises from precentral gyrus, that is the motor area, patient may have jerking movement, muscle tightening, contraction or head movements, or forced turning of the head. If it arises from a postcentral gyrus, that is the sensory area, the patient may experience tingling, numbness, burning in an area of the body. If it arises from the occipital area, patient may have visual hallucination, visual disturbances, for example, blurring or loss of vision. If it arises from the olfactory area, the patient may experience intense unpleasant smells. If it arises from the auditory area, patient may experience auditory hallucinations, for example, buzzing or ringing sounds. So what are the triggers for the seizures? It can, as we know, the seizure can happen anytime and usually without much warning. So few common triggers are flashing lights, low blood sugar, high fever, and reaction to some medication. Now, let's see the focal aware seizures, the ones in which consciousness is not impaired. So these can be motor symptoms, somatosensory or special sensory symptoms, psychic symptoms or signs, or autonomic sign or symptoms. In the motor symptoms, it can be focal motor seizures without march, in which there is sustained tonic, intermittent clonic, or sequence of tonic-clonic movements. In focal motor seizures with march, that is the Jacksonian march, movements progressively involve adjacent parts of one side of the body. In versive seizures, turning of head or body, usually in direction away from the side of seizure discharge happens. In postural seizures, involuntary changes in body posture happen. In aphasic seizure, there is global loss of language. In phonatory ones, there is vocalization or arrest of speech. In the somatosensory symptoms or seizures, the patient may experience numbness, tingling, crawling sensation, pins and needle feeling, and rarely as pain or thermal sensations. Patient can experience visual hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, olfactory hallucinations, gustatory hallucinations, and transient vertigo. There can be psychic symptoms of focal seizures as well. And this happens when simple focal seizures strike parts of the brain that trigger emotions or memories of previous experiences, causing feeling of fear, anxiety, deja vu, memory flashbacks, dreamlike events, hallucinations, agitations, and uncontrolled laughter or crying. The autonomic signs and symptoms, these occur when the focal seizure affects the autonomic area of the brain, that is responsible for involuntary functions. These seizures may cause changes in blood pressure, heart rhythm, or bowel or bladder function. The focal impaired awareness seizures, these are also known as complex partial seizures, which include the impairment of awareness. It starts in a single area, which usually, but not always, is the temporal lobe of the brain. It is the most common type of seizure seen in people with epilepsy. Patients seem to be out of touch, out of it or staring into space during these seizures. There may also be some complex symptoms called automatisms. Automatisms consist of involuntary but coordinated movements that tend to be purposeless and repetitive. Common automatisms include lip smacking, chewing, fidgeting, and walking. So we are now gonna watch a video of the seizures. This is how a focal seizure can appear. So let's move on to the cases we saw in the office. The first one is the 32-year-old female who comes to the office having an episode of complex focal seizure of left arm after missing a dose of carbamazepine. She was found to have lifelong history of focal seizures and was on carbamazepine and levetiracetam. Apart from this, her last episode was 2 years ago. Patient also had a history of chronic anxiety and depression. On physical examination, patient had left-sided hemiparesis and spasticity. DTRs were exaggerated on the left side, and Babinski sign was positive, and left-sided facial asymmetry was there. On review of her past medical records, it was found that she had large porencephalic cyst on the right side of the brain, which had been responsible for the hemiplegia and focal seizures. Porencephalic cyst is a cyst within the cerebral hemispheres filled with CSF that communicates directly with ventricular system. So her current medications consisted of clonazepam, anti-epileptic drugs, and baclofen. The other case was of a 36-year-old right-handed female who comes to the office for follow-up of focal seizures that causes twitches in her eyes. It lasts for around 20 minutes without impairment of consciousness and post-ictal confusion or drowsiness. She is on lamotrigine and eslicarbazepine for the same, which has been effective for her till now. Her last episode was 6 months ago. She also has a history of insomnia, migraine, hypertension, PTSD, bipolar disorder, and glaucoma. She is currently taking anti-epileptic drugs, Aimovig, which is adalimumab for migraine, escitalopram, melatonin, sertraline, and cariprazine. Cariprazine is a new atypical antipsychotic for the bipolar disorder. So how can we reach to the diagnosis of focal seizure? The first step, as always in any disease, is the medical history. It is followed by extensive physical and neurological examination, followed by blood testing, EEG, and brain imaging. The history should include the events directly preceding the seizure, number of seizures in the past 24 hours, length and description of the seizure, focal aspects, and length of post-ictal period. Physical examination should include a general physical examination and neurological examination with attention to detection of any focal deficit. Lab testing may include blood glucose, CBC, electrolyte panels, lumbar puncture in febrile patients, and urine toxicology. EEG is a biomarker for epilepsy. Neuroimaging may include CT scan, PET scan, MRI, and is particularly important in ruling out structural lesions. As with many medical conditions, history is key in assessment and will further guide evaluation. If the clinician believes that the event is a seizure, and the first question is whether it is unprovoked or provoked. For a healthy adult patient who has returned to baseline normal neurologic status, who has apparently had a first seizure, determining serum glucose and sodium is recommended. So here we can see that the waveform in ECG in case of a normal brain. And in case of a partial seizure, there is focal changes in the wave pattern. In case of generalized seizure, this change in waveform is widespread. Focal or generalized epileptiform discharges constitute the EEG hallmark of a seizure activity. EEG can be video recorded while the patient are exposed to stressors such as sleep deprivation, light stimulation, and hypoventilation to induce seizure activity in a controlled environment. Interictal spikes seen on the EEG at a focal site are suggestive of epilepsy. So, if we see a patient, how can we manage the patient having a focal seizure? First of all, it might be reported as drunkenness, illegal drug use, medical conditions such as stroke or diabetic reaction, and person acting strangely. We need to keep this in our mind. So then look for the sudden loss of awareness and automatic purposeless behavior such as picking at clothes, chewing, mumbling, or wandering. Approach the patient cautiously, speak calmly. Try to contain the patient, but don't restrain. Prevent from injuring self. Look for medical ID identifying information. Avoid triggering violent behavior by minimizing physical contact with the patient. And what are the treatment options we have? It can be anti-epileptic drugs, ketogenic diet, vagal nerve stimulation, deep brain stimulation, and surgery. For all types of epilepsy, the goal of treatment is to attain a seizure freedom. Benign focal epilepsy typically self-resolves and doesn't require further intervention. And any first unprovoked seizure in an adult who has returned to a normal neurologic baseline status doesn't require initiation of medical treatment. Many options are available to treat partial onset seizures, such as monotherapy or as an adjunct to another treatment. There is no drug of choice, and the patient should be informed that a period of trial and error may ensue. So let's see how we can manage a patient presenting with focal seizures. So the patient with focal seizure may have involuntary movements like repeatedly swallowing and eye movements. Some people may have strange sensations like deja vu. And the most focal seizures last between a minute or two. It's not always obvious that someone is having a seizure. As I said earlier, it can be mistaken for unusual behavior or someone being drunk. So here we can see how does it look like. She is doing her normal activities and suddenly she starts to have a focal seizure. She starts staring in the space suddenly and tries to plucking on her clothes. If a person is having a focal seizure, the first thing we can do is make the patient calm. So don't try to contain the patient. Just if there is something in the way of the patient, just try to move that away. Or only intervene if you need to guide them away from them. Don't make any abrupt movements. Try to bring them around or restrain them. After the seizure, stay with the patient until the recovery is complete. Like I said, there might be some post-ictal confusion or tiredness. Don't give them anything to eat or drink until they are recovered. Explain anything they may have missed. And when we can call an ambulance. Focal seizures are usually a non-medical emergency. You should call an ambulance if the patient has his first seizure. The seizure lasts for more than 5 minutes and they have one seizure after another without regaining the consciousness. What are the guideline recommended treatments for focal seizures? The first line options are carbamazepine, phenytoin, lamotrigine, levetiracetam, zonisamide, and valproate. Second line ones are the oxcarbazepine, valproate, and levetiracetam. If the first agent fails because the patient cannot tolerate a certain dosage, experiencing intolerable side effects from the drug, or has non-resolution of seizures, then a second monotherapy agent that is either first line or second line should be started. Adjunctive therapy should be considered if the patient doesn't reach seizure freedom or if two well-tolerated medications have been tried and have failed to control seizures adequately. However, the majority of patients, that is up to 70%, will achieve seizure freedom and most will respond to their initial medication. So what are refractory or intractable epilepsy? These are those that cannot be controlled with two anti-epileptic drugs after titrated to the highest dose and attained therapeutic levels in the blood. So what are the new advances in the treatment of focal seizures? Despite the exponential growth of approved anti-epileptic drugs over the past 25 years, epilepsy remains uncontrolled in approximately a third of patients, and that's a lot. Driven by the limited efficacy of established anti-epileptic drugs, for example, carbamazepine, ethosuximide, phenobarbital, phenytoin, and valproate. Anti-epileptic drugs development has exploded in the past 25 years. But despite the release of a new agent almost annually over this period, epilepsy remains uncontrolled in 1/3 of the patients. As we can see in this graph, the bromide was the first drug to be approved for epilepsy in 1860. After that, phenobarbital was approved in somewhere around 1910. After that, phenytoin came like in 1930s, followed by ethosuximide, primidone, sodium valproate, carbamazepine, etc. And the recent drugs are perampanel, eslicarbazepine, rufinamide, retigabine. So what are the recent FDA approvals for partial seizures? The first is brivaracetam. It is like levetiracetam. It binds to synaptical vesicle protein 2A. However, it does so with higher affinity. Other is lacosamide, eslicarbamazepine, perampanel, ezogabine. The recent approved drug is cenobamate, which was approved in November 21, 2019 by US FDA. Its brand name is Xcopri, and it is used for treatment of partial onset seizures in adults. It reduces repetitive neuronal firing by inhibiting voltage-gated sodium currents. Perampanel is a AMPA receptor antagonist that was originally approved for use in partial onset seizures, but more recently approved for generalized tonic-clonic seizures. Lacosamide is an anti-epileptic drug with novel mechanism of enhancing slow inactivation of voltage-gated sodium channels, which stabilizes hyperexcitable neurons. The other treatment option is a ketogenic diet. The researchers have found that a classic ketogenic diet can reduce or eliminate seizure in some children and few adults. People with higher ketones in their bodies are better able to control their seizure. It is a high fat, low protein, and even lower carbohydrate diet. It helps your body produce ketones. The diet is strict and is often begun in a hospital setting. The other options are neurostimulation devices to treat epilepsy. First is vagus nerve stimulation device. It targets the vagus nerve in the neck, and it provides more than 250 minutes per day of stimulation. And its side effects are hoarseness, voice alteration, sore throat, shortness of breath because of interference with vagus nerve. The second one is brain responsive stimulation. It targets the seizure focus in the brain, and we need to provide just less than 6 minutes per day of stimulation. It responds to brain activity where your seizures start, and there are no side effects. The last in the management is surgical treatment. The factors influencing decision includes the ability to identify focus of seizures, area of brain involved can be safely removed without resulting in a significant deficit, or when the other treatments have been unsuccessful. The last but not least comes the patient education. As with any medical condition, prevention is preferable to reactive interventions. One study of patients presenting to emergency department with seizure-related complaints found that roughly 2/3 of those with anti-epileptic drug levels obtained had subtherapeutic levels. Patients must be educated on the triggers of their seizure activity, medical compliance, side effects of medication, and disease prognosis. Parents and guardians of minors along with the patient should be educated. Patients should be evaluated on an individual basis for safety and risk involved with driving, swimming, recreational sports, and work environment. Patients with epilepsy require regular follow-up appointments and long-term monitoring to observe medication efficacy, potential side effects, and development of comorbid conditions. Conclusion. Focal seizures are also called partial seizures since they begin in one area of the brain. Obtaining a description of the seizure from the patient and any witness is critical to the diagnosis and effective treatment. The description needs to include a description of patient's state of consciousness during the seizure to determine whether the seizure is a simple or complex one. Further evaluation, which may include neuroimaging or EEG, is important for determining the specific disorder in order to determine the prognosis and guide therapy. Medical history or MRI will identify a cause, for example, trauma, stroke, meningitis in about half of the people who have focal seizures. Partial epilepsies represent the most common type of adult onset epilepsy. Partial epilepsies are generally treated with anti-epileptic drugs. Non-pharmacological treatments in certain refractory cases include dietary and surgical modification. So, 50 million steps for epilepsy. This is an awareness campaign to raise awareness for epilepsy and to raise vital funds. This was started by International Bureau of Epilepsy. The aim of this campaign is to walk 50 million steps in the lead up to International Epilepsy Day, which falls on the second Monday of February. In 2021, it was on 8 February. What's the importance of 50 million? 50 million people worldwide are affected by epilepsy, according to WHO. So this is the campaign to raise awareness and to raise funds. Thank you. It's a purple day, so people everywhere are understanding the reality for people living with epilepsy. That's all. Thank you so much.